everybody. Oh no, where'd you go?
Oh,
Paul, are you waiting to see if we're live?
I was waiting for you to introduce yourself.
Oh, I was waiting for the music. Let's
We're
restart.
You can't hear it? You can't hear
No,
the
I
music?
didn't hear. Now I hear it, but when I started, I didn't hear any music.
Oh, we're doing it live, folks.
Yeah.
Live.
Let's restart the music. That way we have at least for the podcast.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Everybody who's watching is probably used to that
Hello,
kind of
everybody.
thing
It is
happening.
before noon on a Friday, and this is what's happening. Here we go. Ready?
And let's double check that we are actually. Are we live?
We are.
Hooray! I did not get notified. What is happening?
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Oh, yeah. See, Angelica says hi. All right.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Vamos.
Hi, everyone. I am Amanda Benjamin.
I'm Paul Carganilla, and we welcome you to our mystifying show in which we explore mysteries of the unknown.
Hang on a sec. We need to do take two. This music is because it's going to come out how I'm hearing it. Do you mind just not playing it and I'll add it in and post? Because for some reason it's like on my end.
You know what? I don't even have original sound on. Guys.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Go. That's why you couldn't hear the music.
I was like, I don't hear anything. Let's see if I hear it now.
Let's try it one more time.
If not, like I said, we'll take it out and add it in post.
How's it sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Take 3.
All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. I am Amanda Benjamin.
I'm Paul Carganilla, and we welcome you to our mystifying show in which we explore mysteries of the unknown.
In this live stream and podcast, we'll tell tales of the paranormal and unsolved, while mixing in a little fun and some special guest interviews as well.
Welcome to the Magical Mystery Hour.
If you're listening to the audio podcast of this episode, we invite you to find this show on our YouTube channel, the Vaudacity Network, where you can view any images or videos we can share throughout these stories and see our faces as well.
And if you're enjoying the show, be sure to subscribe to the Magical Mystery Hour wherever you consume your podcasts.
This episode is sponsored by our friend Emily Thatcher. Emily brings us a quote from Anne Frank about hope and courage.
Anne Frank wrote, "Where there's hope, there's life. It fills us with fresh courage and makes us strong again." Yes, thank you, Emily, for submitting that. It's super relevant in today's world.
Absolutely. Well, this episode is actually part 3 of our spooky series about hauntings.
Yeah, got to tell some stories about haunted locations over the past couple of episodes, and now we get to talk to someone about haunted buildings and such, and furthermore.
Yes, I'm really, really excited about this episode. I cannot wait.
Yeah, so tell us how you got in contact with our guest today.
Yeah, so there's a great group on Facebook, kind of like, I forget if it's called like Need a Guest, Be a Guest, or something along those lines. And all these incredible people post about themselves and what they can bring to your podcast or what they need for their podcast. And I just was kind of scrolling through and I saw this picture pop up, and it said, the first couple lines were like, I'm a psychic medium, I clear houses, I'm an aura reader, and I was like, this is destiny, it's meant to be. So I reached out and she was amazing, so I can't wait to talk.
Yeah, well, let's meet her.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us is Jackie.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yay.
Thank you for being here. Now, do you just go by Jackie? Like Madonna just goes like Beyonce Madonna, or do you like have a last name you go by?
Well, I do have a last name. I'm Jackie Hilbrick. Online I do go by a nickname just so I can kind of have like a normal life.
Oh.
On the side, yes, that's why I go by Ethereal Jack online.
Great.
But yeah, my name is Jackie Hilbrick.
I love it. That's so I like that you were like, keep them separate. I keep thinking that someday I'm like, if I ever get famous, what would my name be?
Yes.
No, that's a great boundary to have.
Definitely.
just well, I have a suggestion for you, Amanda, because I was typing the script a little earlier, and I was typing really fast, and Manada came out of my fingers. So I think you could definitely go.
Manada.
Like
I do kind
Madonna,
of like that.
but Manada. There you go. Problem solved.
I even
You're
had
welcome.
at one point I had a student named Ananda.
Ooh,
I know.
love that
and I was
name.
like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, thank you for joining us, and from another time zone, she's joining us from the future.
Yes.
We appreciate your time slip here.
Yes.
And so so tell us about yourself.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so I have always been really intuitive since I was like 5 or 6 years old. It's the first time I can remember actually being able to see energy around someone and running to my mom and being like, "Why am I seeing colors around people?" And she was like, "Do not tell anyone
Oh,
that you
no.
can do this." And I was like, "Oh no." So that was my first kind of instance of realizing that I was able to do something that other people were not. And I didn't really embrace my abilities until recovering from a chronic illness that I had.
Oh.
So when I was around 12 years old, I got very sick. I was in and out of the hospital. I was on a bunch of medicine and just really down for the count from like 12 years old to, oh my gosh, I think it was like 20 years old. And then after recovering, I was like, I really want to see if I can dive back into my abilities and see how I can help people with them, basically. And so I started out doing $15 aura readings, aura drawings at this little crystal shop near my hometown. And then realized I was picking up on like very accurate information for people without knowing them. And became booked out for a few months at this crystal shop, and just like word of mouth started to spread. I started to dive into more of the, psychic portion of picking up on information, like predicting events for people.
Wow.
That would happen like 6 months from when they got the reading.
Wow.
And then slowly started to also pick up on people's past loved ones in the reading. So, if they came in for an aura reading and their first like aura layer was full of grief, I almost immediately would feel the loved one that they had lost in the room. So it was this whole like evolution of just kind of letting my abilities expand and seeing really what I was able to do. And then I moved into the online space around, I think it was around 2018. Started making YouTube videos.
So you got in there before the pandemic and it got
I
popular.
did. Yes, I did. Nothing really took off until the pandemic, interestingly enough. It was around 2020 into 2021
Right.
where my TikTok started going crazy. So
Right.
that was where I was able to reach a lot of people. And so started doing readings for people all over the world, and then began doing house cleansings as well during that time. And it's just kind of taken off from there.
Wow. So do you see auras in everybody? Like, can you see ours right now?
Oh yeah. Oh
Really?
yeah, I definitely can. Oh yeah, 100%. That's
crazy.
I kind of think of it as like a radio dial. So like if I want to go to Target and just like grab a couple groceries or something, the radio dial is at like a 2 or 3.
Okay.
If I'm on a podcast or doing a reading, it's usually up at like an 8 or 9. So yeah, I definitely
Oh.
can see both of your energies right now.
We must have really good webcams.
I know.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Well, I see them more in my mind's eye. So
Oh,
as
wow.
much as I can see, physically, I can see
Right.
them with my eyes. I can also see the information clairvoyantly. So like
okay.
while we're talking, it's almost like an imprint that I'm getting like in my mind's eye. It's kind of hard to explain.
Can I ask you what color I am?
Yeah, you're a bunch of different colors.
Really?
Yeah, so
Am I a
you
rainbow?
are yeah, so you're very green. You're really, really
Oh.
green, light green, which is creativity. It's people that are bookworms. It's people that even have like innate healing or like empathic abilities as well.
That all sounds right.
People that just want to like help others will usually have light green. but it's a huge color for people that love to learn.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me for you
Wow,
specifically.
that's so cool. And I almost wore green today. I was going to wear like this light green dress, and I was like, oh, I'll just go with black. It's nice.
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
Black like your heart.
I know.
Jackie
No,
doesn't
it
know
sets
how
off my rainbow.
horrible person Amanda is.
Oh no.
I'm sure I'm probably a good solid black or gray.
No, everybody, that's so funny. Everybody thinks they're gonna be like the worst color. They're like, I'm like, I must be like muddy or something. You're
funny.
super blue.
Oh.
And also a little green as well. So blue is actually a really common color that I see with people that do podcasts, because it's a color of the throat chakra, communication, listening. But it's also a color of, I mean, how much do you want?
Whatever you want.
It can be a couple different things. Like a sadness can show up as blue sometimes. And but mostly it's like a social color. I see it a lot when people are in jobs where they're communicating a lot. Like salespeople will have blue. But you have that same light green sort of outline too, which is interesting, because I'm noticing a lot with hosts, you guys almost have like, you'll have like similar colors in your auras, and it makes for a really cool back and forth.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
because I was just telling David, my husband, yesterday, I was like, it's so funny because there's so many times when I'm like, Paul and I are like almost the same person, and then something is like, but then there's these funny things that were like the total opposite.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very, I wish I could draw it so you guys could see. It's almost
really
like
cool. You should work with an artist. That would be a really cool commission.
Yeah. I used to draw with like straight up colored pencils. I would just draw people's energy with colored pencils and then give it to them. But that would be really cool. That's a great idea. I will definitely think about
cool.
that.
Let me know if you do that, because I am
Oh yeah.
I think 100%. It'd be cool.
Well, I will let you know that I professionally, my day job, I am the public information officer for a government entity. So my job is literally communicating.
It is.
Very nice.
So that's
I can see it.
Right there. But I'm fascinated by the fact that this kind of came about around the age of 5, you mentioned, because we've talked about in the past how it feels like kids are so connected to the other side, or the other side of the veil, up until about the age of 4 or 5, and then they forget where they came from. And so for you, it was kind of the opposite. You didn't start to really open up and notice these abilities till that time when most kids are forgetting.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I've actually never thought about before, to be completely honest. I think it was also being able to like have the words to finally verbalize it as well. Like, I think I probably was an intuitive kid before that, but I think the first time it really was in my face and I was able to like actually verbalize what I was feeling or seeing made it like that turning point for me as well. But that's very true. A lot of people do tend to forget, like kids forget past lives very early. They'll forget a lot of different things. So very good point.
And did your mom, when you said you told your mom, was she like, whoa, that's weird? Or was your mom like kind of in that same vein?
Yeah, so I got very lucky. I say it all the time. I got very lucky with my family. My older sister actually is quite a bit older than me, and she had experiences when she was younger as well. So she was the one that really cleared the path for me with my mom to kind of go down a spiritual rabbit hole, because she was able to see energy and had the ability to like astral project and do all of these things that my mom was like, what is going on with my daughter?
Right.
So she went down this sort of rabbit hole of research on spirituality to be able to explain to her what was going on. So by the time I started having abilities, she was like, I know exactly what this is. I know, how to help you, what to say, all of the things. So my older sister really cleared the path for me, I feel like, in regards to that, and opened up my mom on her first big spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow.
Do you remember about how old your sister was when she started that?
She was around the same age. I mean, and she was having like really intense experiences. I remember my mom telling me later when I began having mediumship, experiences and connecting with people's past loved ones and doing house cleansings. She told me about this time that my sister was, I think my sister had been about like 6 years old at the time, so around the same age, and she had come into her bedroom and she told my mom that she wanted to know why there was a headless girl in her mirror. And she told me that story right as I'm starting my mediumship journey. And I was like, why are you like right now you're going to tell me this as I'm embarking on that experience? But so there's like lots of things that happened with her that kind of helped along the way. But yeah, that was one of the first big things that she experienced when she was younger. So
Wow.
yeah.
I'll share a story. When my daughter was probably maybe three, maybe an early four, my mom was at the house watching her. I think I was at work or running errands or something. And Everly, my daughter, was taking a nap. And when she woke up, she was able to tell my mom that she got to fly around and see her reading this book on this chair. And my mom was like, oh my God, I was reading that book on that chair. Like during her nap,
What?
she had gone exploring. And I heard that story when I got home and I was just like, whoa, I wonder if this will expand or if it'll be like a
Right.
one-time thing. And as far as I know, like that was the only time that ever happened. But yeah, so it was still, she was definitely under the age of 5, but I wondered, I've always been just fascinated with the astral travel thing. And like,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, when you're reading auras or you're reading people like we are now and you're over half a country away, you mentioned it's kind of like changing channels, but does it take a lot more energy out of you or focus?
I would definitely say, I mean, compared to in person, well, now that I've been doing it professionally for like 7 years now, so I'm
Right.
really like
You're
on it
good at
now.
it.
But yeah, I've
Pretty
perfected
good.
it. But I would definitely say there was a big learning curve going from in person to online, definitely, because when you're in person, the energy of people will really fill up the space. For me specifically, I can feel someone's energy immediately as soon as they walk into a room. And if they're sitting next to me during a reading, it's like I've got a completely straightforward plug into their energy basically. But over Zoom, I'm still able to feel. It's just not as in my face as it would be,
Huh.
in person. So I don't think it takes as much energy necessarily for me, like going in person or online. It's just a matter of specifically the feeling aspect of things is a little bit more dialed down. And so I do have to concentrate a little bit more with that. But for the most part, it's pretty similar in person and online.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
when did people start reaching out to you to like cleanse haunted spaces?
Yeah. So it's really weird how it just naturally like started happening.
Oh.
I was doing I was doing like practice mediumship readings when I first started doing like aura readings and psychic readings and charging for them. I was doing practice mediumship for people, and one of my friends who I had done a reading for reached out to me, and she was like, "Hey, my friend has a photography studio that she's having crazy activity at. Is there any way you could come out and like cleanse the space or like do something, talk to them, do whatever you can to like help her?" Because I think she was renting the space until like the end of the year and there was 6 months left or something. And she was like, she hates being there. She feels like she's wasting all of this money and she just wants to know if you could come help. And I was like, I'll try. Like, I didn't really, to be totally honest, I had no idea what I was doing. But I had built up enough of, a trust, like a trusting relationship with my spirit guides that I knew going into it, they would help guide me, even if I was going in totally blind. So I went to this photography studio. It was the first official cleansing that I ever did. It was like, not to over exaggerate, but it was life changing for me. And I ended up helping her. She, told other people about the house cleansings, and then it just sort of naturally, like by word of mouth again, people started to find out. It was actually the first YouTube video I posted, was the story time about this photography studio. I set my phone up in my bedroom, like just recorded it for myself, basically wanted to upload it just so I could look back on it. And after that, it just took off from there. So I started doing house cleansings for people locally who reached out, and then just started to learn a lot about, spirits and earthbound spirits, and the difference between spirits in heaven and spirits that are, ghosts or whatever. So that's kind of how that started. It all sort of evolved really naturally.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
When you're cleansing a space, are you like full on Melinda Gordon, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ghost Whisperer? Like,
yes.
People cross, or is it like saging, smudging?
I mean, it's definitely I do smoke cleanse, but for the most part, it is really accurate to what is the Jennifer Love Hewitt show? Because that show, Ghost Whisperer.
Ghost Whisperer, yeah.
That show is the most accurate of how it feels to actually be doing these cleansings and helping spirits cross over. So, for the most part, you're going in and you're just kind of assessing, does the spirit know that they're crossed? Is there even a spirit here? Is it something else?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, have you ever been to a place and you're like, no, this isn't really haunted? It's
yes.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Yeah. So you have to go in and be like really skeptical, because it could just be pipes that are old, or
I always say that because I'm part of these like paranormal groups now, so I can like, let me see like what's going on and what people are saying and thinking. And so many of them are like, look at this this thing that I saw in this picture, and then everybody's like, wow, look, and they all have these different interpretations, and then somebody comes and is like, guys, that is clearly whatever, whatever it is. Like there's a video and it was very clearly like a moth flying through and getting in the light, and all these people are like, oh, you just don't see what we see. And I'm like, no, guys, you need to be skeptical, because you need to debunk the things you can, so you can find out true things. Like if you just go in and say everything is true, it's probably not accurate.
Oh yeah, you could find a haunting anywhere if you don't know what you're doing. like I definitely feel like that's one of the reasons why I pride myself on house cleansing specifically, is because if there's nothing there or nothing is going on with spirits, like I'm gonna tell you, because it's just like you have to be real, and you have to be down to earth when you're approaching spirituality. That's like my biggest thing, is that you could find a sign anywhere. You could find, anything anywhere if you're wanting it enough. So you have to go in with a logical mindset for most of these places. And there have been times when I've walked in and I've been like, listen, I think you just got some stagnant energy here. I'll go do a smoke cleanse. We'll set some crystals up. We'll do some salt stuff, and then that you should be fine. And they're fine. So yeah, there's definitely been a couple instances where I've had to go in and be like, there are no spirits here. So
right. We were just saying that too, because we were talking about haunted locations and we talked about the Queen Mary, and I was telling Paul before he started, and I said, yeah, like we went on and it was cool. Like is a little bit weird in some parts and stuff, but then we got to this one area and literally, like, because I've been in plenty of places where I'm like, oh, it's spooky, it's creepy, like, oh, I don't know. And I said, but I got to the staircase and I was like, whoa, everything stopped, and I was like, I don't like this. And like I was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh. And then as we were walking through this area, it was, what is the hatch, Paul?
Hatch 13.
Yeah, Hatch 13, which is like where this accident happened and somebody had died. And so I was like, oh, like I felt, and Paul, so we talked about that. And then Paul showed even just the photo. He showed me the photo and I was like, stop, like I can't even, it's such a weird energy.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's been plenty of times I'm like, ooh, that's creepy, it's a ghost. you know. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
said that was like that thing that makes you go, whoa.
But there is a difference, isn't there, between like, because they don't have to be the same thing. Haunted, a spiritual energy, and the energy of a space can be different.
Yes, 100%. So there is something called residual energy, which is energy that will play on a loop, basically. So it's energy that, you know, if somebody was living in a house for 50 years and they woke up every day at 7 a.m. and went to their cabinets and opened things and got out something for breakfast, and they did that every single day, that energy could be ingrained in that space. So when you go in and you're hearing the cabinets or you're hearing rustling or footsteps, it could be the residual energy that's been imprinted on the space, as opposed to like an actual spirit or a ghost will be able to intelligently respond to questions or you know, conversation, things like that. So residual energy, you're totally right, it's the energy of the space and it cannot respond. You'll try to talk to it, it won't talk back. There's many different things, you know, with that, but yeah, spirits will directly communicate for the most part, unless they don't want to talk to you, which has happened to me.
Oh, really?
One
They're
time.
like, get out.
Yeah, no, there was this one little she was a little girl who had passed in this restaurant that I had cleared, and she was one of the last spirits that I needed to get out, and she, for whatever reason, did not like me, did not want to talk to me, did not want to communicate. I had to bring a friend in to be like the mediator and coach her through how to pass this little girl on. So that's one of the only times that that's ever happened, but it's very interesting. They have their same personality as they did when they were alive, you know, nothing really changes that much.
You get your old man who's like in the corner where his couch used to be. Get off my lawn.
Right. You rotten kids.
Yes.
What are you doing in here?
And you know what I was thinking too, the way that you can see auras on people, are there auras, like energy auras, like on houses and locations and things? Like when you go up to a place, can you see the energy of it?
Yes, you can. Well, I guess that's a good question. For when I do house cleansings, I always have people send me a picture of the location first, actually, before I even go to the house, just so I can kind of get a feel for what's going on. But visually, I don't get a lot. I'll get like images of like, if there is a spirit there, I'll get maybe a flash of an image of like a young girl or an older man or whatever. But for the actual location, I mean, I guess I've never really tried to like look at the aura of a house, but I'm sure it exists because when you're in it, you can feel it.
Right.
I feel it more than, you know, see it for that.
Do people ever call you and ask you to connect them with someone?
So for like mediumship specifically, so usually for mediumship, I go in totally blind. I don't want to know if your dad died. I don't want to know if you want to connect to grandma. I don't want to know about your brother. Like, I don't want to know anything. I want to go in completely blind with no information because that makes the reading more authentic. So there are some mediums that do operate in that way where they'll be like, who do you want to connect to? And then they'll try to like, you know, dial into spirit land, which is totally fine. But I think it's more authentic to sit down with a stranger who you've never met before, you've never spoken to, and, you know, connect to their brother that passed in, you know, this way and tell them details that you would never know. It just makes the connection a little bit more authentic to me. And so that's the way that I do readings, but I know people do it a little bit differently.
Interesting.
Does having this awesome ability affect like your interpersonal relationships at all?
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. I had to learn that the hard way. I don't do readings for anybody that I'm in a relationship with anymore because I have seen my own breakup. Brutal. So I was with this guy and he was going through some career stuff and I was like, let me pull cards for you. I was like, I'm in it right now. I'm getting all of this accurate information for people. Why can't I do that for you? And I pull some cards, and two very distinct paths are shown. And the top one was him, and the bottom one was me. And I saw the breakup to the month. And then you're sitting there and you're like, do I
say something?
Do I tell this person? Like, do I not tell this person? There's no guidebook for like how to navigate that sort of stuff. So I did keep it to myself, but I was right. So it was a good sort of heads up from the universe for me to like prepare for that time frame. But yeah, it definitely affects it in many different ways, which is part of the reason why I also have that nickname, so I can be on the internet and do all of these things and help people, and you know, still have a personal life on the side. So
cool.
Is it easier to like meet people?
Yes. So fun fact, this is so funny that we're bringing this up now, because I'm you know, what will I say? I'm experimenting with this at the moment on the dating apps, where I'm doing like little mini pre-readings where I'm, you know, if I see somebody, I'll like check their energy out to make sure that they're, you know, we would vibe.
If I could, I would.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why would you not?
Exactly. Well, I didn't think, I looked at it as like
cheating, kind of.
Yes,
like,
cheating. I seriously looked at it. I remember telling my younger sister and being like, I feel like that's like not okay to do. And she was like, why?
Why not?
You have this ability, use it. And I was like, oh, you're right.
I mean, it's good because go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just like doing Google research.
Yeah.
It's just way deeper than that. I'm like, I don't want to know that his grandma is, you know, here and giving me all the tea or whatever. So I have to be careful with how much I, you know,
that's so funny.
kind of look into it. But definitely for personality traits and just to see if they're like a good person.
Yeah,
that's 100% used it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there's a lot of, you know, people out there, and you want to protect yourself if you can have this extra layer of protection.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm using it now, but I didn't. I haven't for, you know, a little while, but I've turned over a new leaf. So everybody's getting aura readings before we match.
Yes. Did you do that when I like messaged you?
Oh yeah, I did. I started doing it with people for the podcast too. Yeah, that's really funny that you said that, because I did get overwhelmed. There were a lot of people. I did not expect that many comments, first of all, which was so, I mean, amazing. Yeah. Super grateful for that. But I did do this thing where I scanned through the comments just to see who was sticking out to me. And so those people were the ones that I really contacted. And to see, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
What has been the most memorable spirit that you passed?
That is a good question.
That's a tough one.
Gosh, there's one that I did not pass him over, but the way that he contacted me was it like struck a chord with me. So I was doing aura readings, like I said, at this local crystal shop. And so I was booked out. I would have people like every weekend. It was amazing. And during that time, I was doing a lot of dream work where I would interact with spirits in like my dreams and help them, you know, pass on in my dreams. And there was one specific spirit and one specific night where I went to sleep and I woke up in my dream and I heard a knock on my door. And so I get up and I walk to the front door, and there is this like 6'3", super cute blonde guy like at my door. And I was like,
hey,
hi, can I help you? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm here with my friends. I was just wondering if I could come in. And at that moment, I had realized in the dream that this was a spirit that was coming to me for help. So he comes in, he's followed by his German Shepherd, who he kept calling my girl the whole dream. So he's in, you know, my living room. We're talking. His friends are in the living room as well. And I start to realize in the dream that this is a spirit and I need to get his name or a message. And as soon as I realize that, I wake up from the dream and I'm like, I don't have any information about this guy. I have no idea how he died. I don't have his name. I don't have anything except his age and that he, has this cute German shepherd that is apparently with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to this Facebook group that I'm in. I'm like, does anybody know him? Nobody knows him. I sounded crazy. And then I was like thinking about, him during the week. And I was like, what if he's for someone on Saturday at the crystal shop? Like, what if somebody, what if somebody that's coming to get a reading from me had a connection with him?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I say that, I see this woman with a short blonde bob cut. She's a little bit older. And I was like, there's no way that this woman is going to show up. So I go through the day on Saturday. I'm saying bye to my second to last person. And I walk out and I'm saying bye. And I look over in the waiting room and it is this woman, short blonde bob cut. And I have a full freak out. And I am like, I didn't know that this guy was a Marine. He had told me in the dream that he was a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like little bits of information, but that was it. So I start freaking out. She comes in before we even do any sort of thing for like the readings or me telling her my process. I go, do you have a young Marine that's passed? And I give the description. I say, the German Shepherd, and she immediately starts bawling her eyes out. And then I'm crying because she's crying. So I find out that this guy's name was Josh. And she had asked him that morning to come through in the reading because she had gone to a mediumship event the night before and he hadn't come through for her. So I for some reason, he decided to come through at the beginning of the week. This was like Monday, I had the dream about him.
Wow.
And then Saturday was the day she got the reading. So things were planned by spirit this whole time. So he had ended up he was a Marine. He had passed away from a really rare form of cancer, and he had told the doctors that he wanted them to do as many tests on him as they could because he wanted to prevent anybody that was going through this to like he wanted to like try to find a cure basically through basically sacrificing himself.
Right.
So I then find out that he had a German Shepherd that he was obsessed with that passed a year after he had. So they had both come through in the dream. I had delivered some messages from him after connecting to him in the reading then. And I guess that the woman was his aunt who had taken care of him towards the end of his life because his parents had passed away several years before. And she was very close with him. And she was like, I told him to come through that morning because he didn't come through at the mediumship event. So I can't believe that the first thing you said was that he was here.
Wow.
So that story, even though it wasn't a spirit that I had crossed over, that's something I think about still to this day.
Right.
That, spirit has such a big plan.
How could you explain that? Like, if you're a skeptic, like, it's really hard. I think about it, I'm like, literally the only way that if I was a skeptic, I'd be like, wow, she's lying. Because there's no other explanation. Like,
yeah,
you didn't know this person. You didn't know the man. You didn't know they were coming in specifically. You didn't, like, it has to be a huge coincidence.
I mean, honestly, it would have to be like the biggest synchronicity in the world. Like how, like I'm just gonna sit down. I don't know. There's so many things that had to line up perfectly for that, which is why, after that specifically, I was like, spirit had me like have a dream of him days before the mediumship event. He didn't come through, and then she got the reading the next day. Like, cool. That stuff like that freaks me out. Like, I've been doing this for a long time now, but like things like that freak me out still to this day. It's like there's such a bigger plan.
Two big takeaways I get from that is, one, I'm really encouraged that former pets.
That's what I was going to say,
to
because
connect
so
on the other
many
side.
places say like, oh, pets, they don't have souls. So they're not doing, they're not going to heaven. They're not going to be ghosts. They're not going
Yeah.
to, their
The
energy won't
Rainbow Bridge
continue
is
with you.
real.
I
Yeah.
know. So I
It's
actually
real.
had the same reaction. I was like, oh, the dog.
Yeah.
It's real, and he was so bonded with her in the dream that it's like there's no way you couldn't be reunited with a dog that's like your soul dog. He kept calling her my girl. He was
Yeah.
like, yeah, me and my girl, we would go to the beach and play fetch and like all of these things. Like there was so much love there.
Yes.
So like of course he'll be
love it.
reunited.
And the second thing I got was you can be double booked on the other side. Hey, listen, I can't make it to this meeting that my aunt wants me to get to. I got something else going on.
Literally, that's
Ma'am, that means even on the other side, I'm gonna be like, sorry guys, I'm busy. I gotta go do this.
You're like, I can't make this event Friday, but I can do Saturday at 1.
I don't like crowds. Let's set up a one-on-one and then we'll get the message through.
That's exactly what happened. So funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm interested in, because I always tell people that I have these really interesting experiences in dreams. And so how did you know, for instance, like that was a spirit? Like how can you differentiate it between a dream? Because like I've had things that dreams I'm just convinced are spirits. Like they came to me. And like for me, I can tell the difference, but it's always hard to say like, was that, or was it a coincidence in a dream? Like, how did you know that he was a spirit?
So for me specifically with that's because I have had multiple situations where things like that have happened. So my subconscious, I feel like, was almost like able to identify what was going on energetically. But there are a few ways to know, if somebody like a past loved one comes to visit you in a dream or something like that, it feels very similar for me to, somebody that's coming through that needs help or whatever. So it's more lucid. And it's not lucid in the sense that you can control the dream necessarily, but it's more lucid in the sense that like the colors are brighter. It feels more real. There's like a clarity to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny because and I'm sure everybody's experience is different, but I always tell people like the times that I've had that happen, it's very strange in that like the dream is happening and then like this person will just be there all of a sudden like this.
Yes.
And I'm like, what's happening? And I say, it's so funny because I said the dream continues around me, but I'm like, this is wrong. Like not wrong, but different. Like this doesn't belong here.
Yes.
And it's so funny because, and I always tell people too that I always try to talk. But in the dream, they never talked. Sometimes there was one time I understood. It was really weird. Like it was like talking without talking.
Yeah, like a knowing.
Yeah, and I was like, it was like they told me this thing, like they actually gave me a whole message, and I was like, oh, but there were no words. Like, and I said the dream was continuing, like people were trying to talk to me. It's like a movie's going on behind me, and I'm just like, what? Like, and it's funny because to me they're almost not as vivid. Like the dream seems like a movie, but the faces on the person that is talking to me is just off.
Was it? That's interesting. Was it a past loved one or was it maybe one of your guides?
I don't know. As far as I know, they were people, like I interpret them as people I know. Like people who had passed. Most of them were family members. There's 3 of them. One of them was not. It was just a friend from years and years ago who had died. I always say that it's so weird because they came and they just, I tell people they just kind of like stood there. And I was like desperately trying to talk to them because they had died recently. And then I was like, but tell me, about this, like, talk to me. And then I woke up and I said that, I woke up and I was like, okay, that was a weird dream. And I went on to Facebook and it was his birthday. And I was like, how weird is that?
That is something crazy that happens too. So maybe for me, it's because it's more clear just because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, maybe I'm like, my brain is like,
well, now that you're mentioning it, like when I have my, like specifically my, I lost 2 friends several years ago in a car accident. And when they come through, they're a little bit more like blurry as well. So that's interesting. It's almost like
maybe the longer they've been gone.
Yeah. If I can't recall them in my mind as easily. They'll come through looking like that. So that is interesting that you say that.
So now I need to like study.
Yeah, write it down when it happens. Oh my gosh, write it down when it happens too. I feel like we can get a lot of really good information from, our past loved ones in our dreams. I think that's one of the best ways really to communicate with them is to have them pop up and be like, we're still here watching you. Like, you're fine. It's all right.
Yeah. So do you think, as far as, because I don't know, can people like cross over, like if they've like crossed over into an afterlife, like can they still come back? Or is it like if you lead somebody, I don't know how it works. Like, do you lead somebody to the light and then they're there forever? Can they come back and visit? Like,
so this is where I like to speak from personal experiences because I think that it's just like what I've experienced. Yeah. Like that's and obviously, my reality.
Like, it's hard for somebody to say, right? But like, yeah, no, just in your opinion.
Yeah. There, to me, from what I've experienced, it does seem like when people cross over, there is some time frame where they can come back like really, really vividly. And then it's almost like as time goes on, like for example, you lost my grandparents, they pop into my dreams like maybe too much sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, grandpa, it's again, like what is going on? So no, I love them. But I think that there is something to be said about like right after people pass, I do feel like it's easier for them to come through for whatever reason, maybe because they haven't, fully integrated with that other energy yet or whatever it is. But I do feel like they can come back and access that plane of existence that we can access when we're dreaming. I just don't know, like, is that, a forever thing? Can they do that forever? Is there a piece of their soul that, kind of stays, that is able to access that? Are they rested? Like, I don't really know. I do feel like when you're at rest, you have the option to like pop in though. I don't like a little mini dream vacation and, whoever's mind you need to pop into, but I'm not really sure, to be totally honest.
We've done an episode on past lives and reincarnation. Do you have any ideas on that? As far as I was just thinking, because like maybe like once you pass over, but then if you're reincarnated, you can't come back. Like maybe that's a kind of a thing. Or do you have any thoughts on reincarnation? And
yeah, I definitely believe in past lives. I 100% do. I do believe in reincarnation. Again, with the details, I don't have them all hammered down, but I do believe there's so much evidence of children remembering their past lives. I've been able to remember a few past lives that have impacted me like physically today with certain things, and then after I've cleared those blocks or whatever, I can recover and I'm fine now. But it's like there are things that I think we're not meant to know specifically with reincarnation, but I do believe that our soul can remember. And again, some people lose that memory at a very young age, but there have just been too many cultures, too many, documented incidences of kids recalling exactly where they used to live or their family, or if something had happened to them, being able to identify, the perpetrator, or just like weird things that don't follow the natural order, where you're like, that could only be explained by somebody remembering a past life. So I definitely believe in both.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful to you for joining us. I know we want to respect your time. And
I know, because I could talk to you for like hours and hours.
Well, maybe we do another.
I think we should. I absolutely do.
Yeah,
you're an amazing guest. I was just thinking, you should have your own show.
Thank you.
Yeah, have people call in, ask you questions, like do readings. Like I think
it's a great idea.
Like, and we could obviously do that for our show. We could do like an episode like that.
That would be very fun. I'd love to talk about that.
Yes. And maybe like some of our, because I know, say like one of our listeners was saying, do you do pets? Like, do you do pet readings? Can you tell me about my pets?
I have done pet readings before. It's not like a specialty. It is something I can do. But I have done pet readings before for
Yeah.
friends that are like, is my cat sick, or like, what's going on? I have done readings before. So yeah.
That would be a really cool episode if
Yeah, well,
perhaps we
to
should
be
do
continued.
that. I know. Is
And
there any?
if people,
Oh, go ahead.
oh,
I
sorry,
was just going to ask if there's any, just because, we're like, oh, we've been talking and talking. Is there anything that you want to share with us that, like, an experience or just a wisdom or anything like that, that you're like, I didn't get to touch on this, but I was hoping to?
No,
Just
I think we covered, we covered
We did.
a lot of information. I think it was a good mix of stuff. I don't have
Great.
anything that I can think of right now that I wanted to add. I
Great.
think we got
Just wanted to make
most of it,
sure,
yeah.
you said everything you wanted to say before
Yeah.
we wrap
put a
up.
list together for the next time. We
Yes,
have
exactly.
I'm already super excited and getting
Me
ideas
too.
for a
I
future
can't
episode.
wait. And for people who want to keep in touch with you, where can they do that?
So you can book a reading or go find my socials on etherealjack.com. It's etherealjac.com. And I do have a little discount code up for anybody that wants to book a reading. It's code podcast for 20% off.
Great.
And then my Instagram is at etherealjackyt, and my TikTok is at etherealjack. And that's it.
Wow.
Love it. Well, we will definitely keep in touch and get connected, and hopefully, keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thanks for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jackie.
Yay.
We'll edit in. That's
Yeah, we'll
be in
do some
post.
applause.
Well, that was so awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was so fun. Oh my gosh.
I definitely think you should have like your own weekly show because
You're inspiring me, because I was doing YouTube really consistently. I am so bad at video editing. So I was looking for like an editor, but maybe some sort of like live stream on YouTube or something like that would be really, you guys are getting
we are
wheels
fans
turning.
of the live stream.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You know from like the first 20 minutes how great we are at
Oh
that.
my God. We've been doing this and still.
You're human.
I
You're
know.
human.
We're always like, oh, wait. I do, like, we both kind of do weekly shows, and they're much smoother.
You're so funny.
So
I
when you add all
don't
the-
even think twice about it, to be honest. There's always going to be some sort of, if you guys ever saw me try to do a live stream, my mic cuts out, my camera, like my Wi-Fi will go down. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very fun. Thank you guys
Great.
so much. Do you need anything from me? Like do you want me to send you like my links or anything?
Sure. Yeah, because we'll put them in the podcast description when we do it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Neat. Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thanks. And let me know about another episode whenever you guys are ready.
For sure.
right.
I'm already ready.
Okay. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. She's awesome. Great
Yeah,
find.
that was amazing.
Yeah. All right. Should we record the outro?
Yes, let's
while
do
we're
it.
here?
Yeah, while we're here. And there's still like, I can't believe it. There's like still 13 people here in the middle of the day, well, now it's the end of the morning, but I guess it's afternoon technically. Awesome.
Midday crowd.
Midday crowd
on
in
the
California on a
Audacity Network.
weekday.
All
Awesome.
right. I guess that means we got to schedule a noon show for weekly on Fridays.
Yeah, right.
That's where we find everybody. I'll play some music and then we'll do the thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you all for joining us for this episode of the Magical Mystery Hour.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave the show a positive review and help people who like this kind of show find our Magical Mystery Hour.
We'd like to thank producer Craig Jackman and our social media team, Dari Mills and Christina Beelan, for their promotional support.
Thanks again to this episode's sponsor, Emily Thatcher. And a big thank you to David Benjamin for composing and recording our theme music.
Until the next mystery,
Good night.
good night, good day, good weekend. Perfect.
All right, then we're going to say goodbye to YouTube land.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
YouTube
Thank
land.
you guys so much for watching. That was really fun.
Have a great rest of your day and
Yeah.
Veterans Day weekend.
All right. See you later. Bye.